This video is sponsored by DistroKid. If you're someone who has that urge to release music, if you're looking to release it officially on major streaming platforms like Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, all the rest of them. As an independent artist, even before they were a sponsor of this channel, I've always recommended DistroKid. They're just the easiest option. We'll be getting into more reasons why that's the case later in this video. Also, if you are a fan or supporter of this channel, please do use the affiliate links listed in the description to purchase your gear if you're on the fence about purchasing, because I would make a small commission from that sale. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It helps me a lot. I also have a Patreon. I've been uploading exclusive content there for months now. There's tons of it. Go check it out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Also linked in the description. Let's go on with this video. The drum computer MFB-522. These things are no longer issued. I mean, you'll find them on Reverb. This is an early 2010s drum machine, which, if you don't know, sounds a lot like an 808. It's pretty much like an emulation or a copy of a TR-808. But in a much tinier format. The big question though is, does it compete with modern day drum machines, or is it kind of its own thing, like a charming older unit? The comparison will mainly be against Roland Drum Machines because, as I mentioned, this is in the exact same vein. This actually isn't my drum machine. My buddy Andre lent it to me and his daughter put this flower here. I wouldn't think of removing it. Also, the knobs have been changed here. These are, I think they're Moog knobs. In terms of capabilities, features, price range in comparison to current and past Roland Drum Machines that have 808 capabilities, this thing kind of sits right smack in the middle of everything. The sequencer is quite limited. It's the size of, it looks, kind of feels like a toy. It feels like you're playing with a toy when you play with this thing. It's super fun to play, fully analog, and it sounds great if you're into that sort of throwback 808 sound. It also has individual drum audio outs. I've mentioned this in the past. I think that every drum machine worth its salt should have this. Some people might argue that this is like the poor person's alternative to an OG TR-808. So anyways, these are all things that we're gonna be looking into in this video. 8 voices, so bass drum, snare drum, clap, a choice between conga and tom, cowbell, cymbal, overhead, so this is like an open hi-hat, and this is a closed hi-hat. As I mentioned, 4 audio outs, so there's a stereo out, bass, snare drum, or rim shot, clap, and hi-hat. Although it's not really meant for this, if you want, you could finger drum patterns with it. If you want to record notes into the sequence, all you've got to do is hit record and then choose the drum that you want to record on. So bass drum, this is the sequence that I have entered in. Snare drum, same thing. So let's go back to the bass drum, and I could erase these notes, add them back in. If I want to enter something onto an even step, I just have to hit shift and then click on that step, right? So now we have double bass drums for this pattern. Let's head over to the cowbell. I'm going to erase all of these notes and enter in a new pattern. Let's try this. And I think just the best sonic example I could give you, I'm going to lower the volume of all these, and we're going to play around with the parameters of each of these within this pattern. So that's just the kick. Could tune that. Let's add the snare in there. There's a noise option here, which is essentially snappy. It's like the snare chain. Change the tone of that snare. Add the clap in there. There's a filter on the clap. It's a very subtle filter, but it's there, so this makes it a bit darker, more tech. Decay. Conga and tom. Let's try this out too. Right, so very similar to the OG TR-808. Change this to a tom. Cowbell. Make it a shorter cowbell. Tune it. Cymbal. Bring that decay down. Okay, this is the lowest decay possible. If I want to Make it a lot more cymbally. Hi-hats. So in this case, I'm actually going to mute the cymbal because I find that it's too much. There we go. Pretty much this is an 808 because it has analog circuits. We get that sort of inconsistent subdivision from one drum to the next. You're locked into this sound. There's no way of getting away from that throwback TR-808 sound, which if you're into this sound, that's sort of the magic of the unit. Unfortunately, also like an OG TR-808, you can't choose the exact tempo. It does go quite fast and quite slow. So if you want to choose an exact tempo, it does have MIDI in, so you could sync up to a unit that does give you an exact tempo. There's one thing that I really don't like about this unit. I'm going to mute everything except for the two cymbals here, cymbal and hi-hat. So if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear this. These are panned hard right and hard left. I really don't like that. In terms of sequencing capabilities in comparison to today's units, as you'd expect, quite limited. We have one 16-step pattern here, which you've been hearing. There's also a fill button, which allows you to jump back and forth to another sequence. There is a song mode, but in my opinion, even with modern units, song mode kind of locks you into a specific song structure. It's easier and makes more sense to me to just scroll from one pattern to the next, which you're able to do by just hitting rhythm and then choosing the pattern that you want. So this is the pattern we're currently on. Next pattern. Right, so these are all just like patterns that have been saved into the unit. These might actually be stock patterns. A very simple concept, throwback 808 sounds. That's what you get, that's the sound, that's the vibe. A few of the things that make this machine so unique are the size factor, the fact that it's analog, and it has individual outs. We have to explore this, so in this case I'm sending the stereo out to channel 3 on the Model 1.4. This is my mixer, and the clap is going out to channel 4. So I have like a separation between these two things. So here's the groove without the clap, here's with the clap. And so I could send effects. I have the event-tied space set up right here. First off, so I put a filter onto this track right here, and then I could reverb the clap, let's say. Cut out the low end, 3 and. One, 2, 3, and. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for this section of the video. I don't have enough 1/8 inch to dual RCA cables. It's kind of a rare, weird cable to have. So I only have 2 of them, or I've a made shift right here. If I did though, I'd definitely be splitting these 4 audio outs to the 4 channels on the Model 1.4. Let's throw this on the hi-hats instead. See what this does. Similar sort of effect. I'm actually going to change the preset on the event-tied space. Got a spring thing going on, also very cool. Speed it up a bit. And we'll do the same thing. Cut out the low end. So you're just hearing the hi-hats pretty much. I think it'd be more effective if we cut out the high end though. Yeah, kind of cool. 3 and. So you get the idea. The next important thing I'd like to get into is the build quality of the MFB-522. This is obviously an important factor of any unit. Before getting into that though, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. If you are an independent artist or producer, DistroKid is pretty much the #1 choice. First off, there's a discount linked in the description of this video, which I encourage you to use. It's just over $20 a year to release unlimited music to all major streaming platforms. And one of the things that makes it amazing for independent artists is just the sheer amount of free promotional tools that they offer. Personally, my favorite is Hyperfollow, which I like to use as a free link and bio link. It's the cleanest that I could find, and you're able to claim as many pages as you'd like for free. So for example, if you have multiple artist names or possibly landing pages for singles or any other important landing pages, DistroKid's got you with Hyperfollow. They recently released an iOS app so you can access all of your DistroKid information, your statistics, all through your smartphone, which just makes everything that much easier and like on the go. So join the team. There's over 1 million DistroKid users and they distribute 1/3 of the world's music. The quality of the MFB-522, hate to say it, it's a little bit finicky. As I mentioned earlier, it looks and feels like a toy. It's also built like a toy. After reading up on some forums and also confirming this with the owner of this unit, Andre, it's been confirmed that yes, these things sometimes do just bust. Definitely something to be considered if you do plan on purchasing this unit. Just make sure that it's fully functional before actually committing to anything. So who is this unit suitable for? Is it worth considering the MFB-522 over modern drum machines? It really does depend on where you're at and what you're going for. If you're looking for a very simplified approach and that throwback TR-808 sound, then obviously this could be a unit that's right for you. But let's compare it to other drum machines that are in a similar price point. They all happen to be Roland Drum Machines because that's, what this thing is comparable to. It's clearly a poor person's TR-808 because those things are going for several $1,000s at this point. I think this one goes for about $500. The OG TR-808 is obviously also fully analog. It has a more powerful sequencer. It also has individual outs like the MFB-522. The only thing, obviously, as I mentioned, is the price. It also takes up a ton of space on your desk. Like, it's a clunky piece, it's hard to travel with it, whereas this thing practically fits in your pocket. The TR-808 also doesn't have MIDI in unless it's modded. I've actually seen one with MIDI in. So what about Roland's new or current drum machines that are pretty much in the same price range as the MFB-522? For example, you could purchase a TR-6S, which is pretty much the same size as this. Let me just place it properly for you there. By the way, here's a video if you don't know what the TR-6S is, and also the TR-8S, I think if you buy it used, it's pretty much in the same price point as the MFB-522. Just gonna dust it. The TR-6S is infinitely more powerful in every single way than the MFB-522, obviously. Way stronger sequencer, built-in effects, classic Roland drum sounds that use ACB, which is a technology that emulates analog circuit behavior. The 8S and 6S could be used as audio interfaces, they're controllers. The only thing with the 6S and 8S is that they are not analog and they don't have individual audio outs. They do have USB to audio out, as in you can perform individual tracks in real time into your DAW. So obviously it's a different time. These are built for the times. Whereas in the early 2010s, I mean, everyone was still using a DAW, but I find that hardware wasn't really as compatible as it is today. I personally think that all drum machines should at least have an option of audio out as well as possibly USB to audio, just because it's that much easier, in my opinion, if you have other hardware to make some original sounding samples with said gear. But that's something that's becoming less and less common with hardware because the focus is more on DAW to hardware compatibility. So the question is, where do you sit in all of this? Are you team MFB-522? Are you team Roland? Do you like some other drum machine? What's like the GOAT drum machine to you? Personally, I'm team both for different reasons. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what the gear is, what it's capable of. If it helps you creatively, then that's the point, right? That's the outlet. Hopefully this video helped you out and was insightful in some way. There are affiliate links for all of the new gear mentioned in this video description. I also have a Patreon with a bunch of exclusive content already. Join up if you're interested and hope to see you soon.